A very warm welcome to you. If you like to go quickly in the Ardennes, then you've come to the right place. The Kuurne, Brussels-Kuurne, well, just two races designed to give the sprinters a happy day amongst the strong men. Kuurne, Brussels-Kuurne then don't actually go into Brussels itself these days, just kind of stop outside and then head back. Once we do make the return, and indeed they're already deep into this race, as I'm sure you know. In fact, as we stand, we've got about 70 kilometres to go. It does include two loops of final circuit of just about 15 kilometres each. So 30 Ks will be amongst the tribunes, let's put it that way, and then a guaranteed very, very fast finish to the end. It's been like this for some time. Oh, we've had some great winners in the past, of course. Last year it was Mark Cavendish winning for the second time. Ton Bonen has had his fun on this very race. And if he gets his sprinting head back on, and more than that, maybe his confidence, then he should probably go extremely well. That's the stack of those who've done it in the past. Bobby Traxel back in 2010 was when the weather really absolutely blew us apart. Suspicion of rain and indeed wind have been blown away by blue sky here today, thank heaven. That day back in 2010, only 26 finished. There'll be a few more than that today, although we've had our bumps and bruises, as you can see along the way. Nothing too serious. Everyone so far has remounted. We have indeed got a breakaway group, and they're holding about 2 minutes on everybody else. No great import, the tumbles that we've had, although we've had a couple of riders who have exited the race, but not too sure whether it's down to injury or indeed fatigue after what was a busy schedule for many yesterday as well. Here we are then, 70.8 kilometres to go. You join us live here on the Kuurne, Brussels-Kuurne. My name's Carlton Kirby, sitting alongside me is Brian Smith. We have 11 riders up the road. We'll do the courtesy of going through them in a short while, but the maximum break was around about 9 minutes. It's back down to 2, and that's due to the Eau de Clermont and the attack that went on there. And you'll be glad to know it was launched by none other than world champion Peter Sagan. After disappointment yesterday of missing out on the line to Greg van Avermaet in the Omloop Het Nieuwsblad, well, Peter Sagan picked himself up, dusted himself down, and he's taken the rainbow jersey at least to the fore in terms of the chasers. You're looking at them right now. There's about 30 or 40 riders. This was a more disparate group because of Sagan's efforts, but he managed to instill something in them. There he is, rainbows at the rear of this group, letting the others do a little bit of the work. Tom Bonen's in here, Caleb Ewan is in here, and also getting back in is Alexander Kristoff. Nicky Terpstra also spinning up like a good one. 3 riders from I Am Cycling, including Lee Howard, Matteo Palucchi, both of whom can go very, very quickly as well, don't forget. So this could be a group to test everybody. They're going about the same pace at the moment as the breakaway, who are functioning well as a fighting force. Question is, what force and indeed fighting spirit have those behind this group got? This might be it. It may well be our selection. And I think, Brian, when you've got this kind of terrain, albeit with some wind blowing from the northeast, selection can happen at any time. We've got a proper race on our hands, though, haven't we, post-Clermont?
Yeah, earlier on today it was predominantly a headwind, so it made it kind of difficult. The breakaway of 11 riders, it's now actually down to 10 because one of the riders had just punctured David Boucher. So with 10 riders, and then we have this group here with the world champion who finished second in the Omloop Het Nieuwsblad yesterday, but the race blew apart, and it was that man, the world champion, that came to the front and blew the race apart. This is the second group on the roads, and they have got a chance of coming back, but they have to keep the pressure on. So it's an interesting race. It's interesting to see who's doing the chasing on this group here, because there's still a lot of riders still within contention. We have the Teigenberg, the Holstraat and the Nokkerbeur still to come, so still plenty of racing, but the bunch sprint, is it going to happen? I think it could well be, but with the reduced numbers.
There we are, so it could be a bit of a skirmish by the time we get to the end of today. In terms of terrain change, as Brian says, we've still got 3 more climbs, and they were traditionally or have been badged up as a platform for those who want to go on the attack. The Teigenberg will come up next. That'll be in about 7 kilometres time. You may see them attack it rather quickly. It's only 750 metres, but it does max at 9%, so it's no joke. And then 5 kilometres only later, they're hit again by the Holstraat. So you can go quickly, and you can see they're still very, very lively out there. Plenty of moves, and they're trying to neutralise them again and again. It is cold, it's 7 Celsius, but these guys... well, the pace has been extremely warm. This is Lotto Jumbo trying to make amends for Dylan Groenewegen, who's their chosen man, who has had some good runs. He beat Bouhanni, don't forget, in Valencia. Haven't seen Bouhanni, by the way, so if you're expecting the Frenchman to pick himself back up and have another crack, it doesn't look that good for him today. We may well be wrong, but we said there may well be a brief coming together. Well, that seems to be the case right now. The groups are swelling further down, which is, as you see, garnering more attacks. However, when we get to this trio of Hellingen that we've got to deal with, the Teigenberg, then 5 kilometres later, the Holstraat, and then finally the Nochereberg, and these next 18 kilometres are going to be absolutely vital, because once they're done, it's flat to home. So, if you are a quick man, this is where you're going to be hurt. The strongmen's teams know that, and so the likes of Edith Quickstep have been very, very active. It's going to be war. There's going to be fireworks. We'll be back in a minute. Welcome back, everybody. Beautiful sunshine, sharp shadows, as you can see, which tells you exactly that. Big ball in the sky, thank goodness, and mostly blue. Not much wind, although at the finish line it is blowing and it's across head, so that's going to feel uncomfortable. You'll see the finish line 3 times, by the way. We're just coming up to our next climb. It'll be in about 4 kilometres time. This is the breakaway. That's Sebastian Turgot, who's just trying to find a little bit of smooth path, as you can see. Indeed, the idea has been adopted by just about everybody. A smoother surface when you've got the cobbles and you've had to deal with that. Your backside does take one hell of a beating, as Sean Kelly will attest to. And so whenever you've got some respite, Brian, you're going to take it, aren't you?
Of course you are. I don't know. They try to stop that, to keep all the riders on the pavé and stop them going on to the side. So I don't know where they're at with that at the moment, because everybody is just deciding to go on to the kind of path at the side of the road. Not much of a path, though. But this is what's left of the peloton. Sagan was, I think he looked absolutely amazing in the Old Quaremont. He split it all to pieces. It was, in fact, Lotto on the fronts in the red jerseys that came up, tried to split the peloton, but it was Peter Sagan. It's, you know, ripped everybody's legs up there. There was guys everywhere. Christophe was in the second group. He came across with a few riders, but more importantly, one of the riders that really impressed in the Old Quaremont was right up there. He's been protected all day by his Orica teammates, and that's Caleb Ewan. And Caleb Ewan has shown very well so far today. He has, and the youngster who, of course, this is his first senior race on cobbles, so a lot of people were wondering as to how he might function. But he's going very well, and he's got the protection that the quick men naturally need at a situation at a moment such as this. Teams with quite a few personnel do include I Am Cycling, Mattia Palucci they've got, who can go quickly, and of course the aforementioned Lee Howard. So it could be a bit of an Australian festival today. I Am Cycling, you can see them, they're about 9 and 10 off the nose of these chasing groups. Lotto at the moment in their familiar red and white, working for Jens Debusscher. It could be a tough-ish day. That's Roger Kluger, by the way. It looks like he's suffering just a little bit with his winter vest undone. Never really understood that. Either zip it up or indeed get rid of it, because he's just giving away precious watts, frankly, at this time. Minute and a half, it's just 92 seconds then, as we stand between our breakaways. So we better quickly go through them, quite frankly, because it looks like the chase is on. A lot of the teams of the stronger men just want to keep the hurt where they believe it should be, and the motorcycles just making a slight nuisance of themselves as we speak. Sebastian Turgot, then, of AG Tour Le Mondial, is in the break. So is Mirko Trozino of Southeast Venezuela. Team 3M of Belgium managed to get in the break as well, the Continental boys. Jaap Daman. Great name. We've got Van Ginneken and De Vries, both from Roompot in their tangerine jerseys. We'll see once we get up there. I'm telling you this, by the way, because it looks like they're doomed. Janto
is here as well. Janto Barker, the Brit, 36-year-old from One Pro Cycling, he's also up and in the break. Jerry Droitz and David Boucher from the Creelan team, rather foxingly put on last year's wind cheater, and in fact have covered up this year's jersey rather confusingly. But Roman Cardiff is also up there from Team Direct Energy with their golden rainbow, and Boy Van Poppel of Trek Factory Racing is the other one in the break. Brian, it looks doomed because these guys look determined. Some of the stronger teams, we saw Ethics really mixing it up. They had to do something after the sheer disappointment of yesterday in the Armour.
Yeah, well, there are teams disappointed from yesterday. Lotto Soudal had a rider on the podium, so they would have been relatively happy. But you know, they're a Belgian team. They came to the front in the Old Quaremont trying to rip it up. They've done likewise now with Stig Brooks is on the front with Jürgen Rollins and De Bucherer. I'm thinking, you know, every team's got their tactics. It's all different, and it looks as if Lotto Soudal want to come into you know, Harelbeke in these finishing laps with a lot smaller front group. You know, there's so many good sprinters in here. Last year it came down to a big bunch sprint won by Mark Cavendish. So nice to see another British team here, One Pro Cycling, and yesterday they had a rider in the breakaway, the experienced Christian House, and yet again they've got Janto Barker, the 36-year-old, originally from Carmarthen in Wales, up in that front group. The maximum they got, the 11 riders, was in fact 9 minutes. It's coming right down, and you can just see Lotto Soudal really trying to dish out a bit of pain. You can just see Stijn Vandenberg there for Ethics, and Ethics in the blue, the big tall figure. They really were found wanting yesterday, and I've also we've been kind of watching this off air, and I think that's a rider at the front just coming up to Terpstra, but Luke Rowe is looking in amazing form, and he has been riding well today so far as well.
He has. He was the first rider to eschew, to get rid of his arm warmers. Just about everybody started off with some real winter gear on. Zico Vaetens, by the way, is also just off the back of this group, and I think he may well have stopped for a technical. Not quite sure what the issue was because he was way up there towards the 4. Ian at Cycle Betting has been talking about Zico Vaetens very much. He is from Leerdegen, which is I think the finish line's only about 7 k's away from Leerdegen. And so he knows it very well, and he's the chosen man for Giant, who of course are without the injured or recovering John Degenkolb. A team like Giant have got such a massive history, Brian. Whenever it comes to sprinting events, this would have naturally been a target for that sort of team. They're without the chosen one, as you might say, but they've got some others to fall back upon, and I guess local knowledge for Zico Vaetens may well prove to be invaluable.
Yeah, this is an opportunity, certainly for them, because they would normally come here looking for, you know, John Degenkolb. You know, they lost Kittel as well to Ethics. Obviously, Kittel not riding today, but you know, Ethics have got something to prove. They have been, you know, they were chasing yesterday, but unfortunately they never got the result. Where they get it today, it's going to be very difficult.
They sell mushrooms locally. You would never guess. 49 kilometres to go. Sorry, 49 seconds to gap, 62 kilometres to go. Incidentally, in this part of the world, which I used to live, the woodland area, lots of fungi to go and pick, and if you ever pick one, you can take it to a local pharmacist, and they'll tell you whether you can eat it or not. Christophe at the moment feasting himself upon these modest inclines, but is it too much for Alexander Kristoff today? An eternal question. I think he started off as out-and-out favourites for the day, and he's staying where he needs to be, Brian, on more than one occasion. Is he going to get found out? Will fatigue play a part? He's been busy.
He has, and I think fatigue will play into it. He's having to do a lot of effort. You know, some of his teammates now struggling to stay with him, and that's what you need. You need riders to stay with you, and already you've got Marco Haller, the Austrian rider, drifting back here. So you can just see a lot of the Katusha team aren't able to go with Kristoff, and he's having to make his own efforts. You cannot relax in these races at all. We're going over some climbs, you know, we went over that kind of pavy section where they're jumping onto the kind of mud side paths, and you cannot relax in these races. It's full gas all the way, and you can just see I Am Cycling plus Lotto Soudal, the two teams wanting to keep the pressure on this race.
Certainly are. Top Sport are represented here as well. I wonder if that's Bert van Lerberger. We were talking about him in some of the Spanish races. He went extraordinarily well. In fact, it was his antics, I think it's fair to say, albeit I underline fair, that Tom Bonen sort of forced Tom Bonen to back out of the sprint, which begs this question to you, Brian. Tom Bonen, he backed out of the sprint, was in Valencia, looked uncomfortable when it got a bit hairy. It's going to be hairy today. Has Tom Bonen, has he lost anything in terms of, well, is he carrying a little bit of worry being so soon back from injury, which he sustained at the end of last season?
Well, I don't think in a race like that he was going to take the big risks. In races such as this, he'll probably take more risks. It's horses for courses, really, and he probably thought he wasn't going to risk it in that sprint. I think it was Andalusia, so he decided to back off in that. But it's going to be interesting to see what tactics, ethics are going to play out. It's the first big weekend of cobbled racing here in Belgium. So nice to see one pro cycling in the peloton here, Janto Barker, the veteran on that team, one of the most experienced riders, using that experience, and probably the best place to be is in this group of 11, because you can see the damage that's been done behind. They had 9 minutes, and now just purely because of the racing behind, it's come down to almost 40 seconds now.
There is Janto, he's got the sort of Cambridge blue, sort of pale blue, greeny blue accent to his helmet, probably in about P4 at the moment, but he's showing the duty, and they're working very well together, to be fair, as a breakaway group. And you can see that the fracturing it's having, courtesy of their efforts, has been reasonably significant. There we are. That is indeed Zico Vatens leading this group right now. Looks like he may have had a little bit of bother earlier on, but he still looks lively. That's the rider, by the way, for Giant, with the red helmet closest to the barriers. In the nearly all black. There we are, he's finally identified for you. He is our local man and expected to go very well, but he's clearly had an issue.
Yeah, the issue is the previous climb of the Tegenburg. The pressure was put on by Lotto Soudal and kind of split the peloton. You could see that Christophe was having to make an effort. He cannot sit back and wait for his teammates. He wanted to be in this front group, and you can just see these 4 riders trying to make contact. And it looks as if with the neutral service and Commissaire car, the referee car just behind, there could be a significant gap back to the next group. So this is the last chance that Zico Vatens has got to come across to this front group now.
They have been leaning on him as a group because he's the only one who remains a threat, and I guess if you've got teammates up the road, then you're certainly not going to help out, and that's the case with Pim Lichtart here for Lotto, who's just sitting in front of Zico, who's at the back. Looks like they are going to get back in, thank goodness for them, and particularly for him, because he can spin it up quickly if it's a select group at the end. But he's got some very big, powerful men who are also part of this group, and most notably, as Brian was saying, Caleb Ewan, who is on his first senior cobbles run. He had a spectacular time, of course, in Oz at the top of the year. And the Australians often come out of the closed season in fine form, because essentially they've raced through the winter in ideal conditions down under. And so maybe it is going to be day for Oz. Caleb Ewan is here, the aforementioned, of course, that we mentioned a little bit earlier. Lee Howard as well for I Am Cycling. They've got the firepower, the Aussies, and boy, oh boy, how many I'm Cycling riders are here? Lee Howard's looking well catered for, I think. Yeah,
and you see Heinrich Hausler, last year's Aussie champion, just coming to the front, and they do have numbers. Just looking to see, in fact, where Caleb Ewan is. You can see some of the Orica jerseys, but I can't actually see him. So he rode well over the Old Guatemala. Has he made this next selection? We'll just have to wait and see.
Zico's in the house, just managed to tag onto the back of that group. There's our breakaway, 50 seconds away, and we're heading back to some climbs. We're in the middle of the last 3 climbs of the day. There's been 11 in total. The Tigerberg. The breakaways got over it, but the chasers are just about to engage it. It's nothing too serious, 5.2%, but it does max at 12, but only over 1 kilometre in length. So they've managed to skip over it, the breakaway, but it's just being taken on by the chasers at the moment. The hurt that's been imposed by these climbs, especially coming in such short order, about 5 kilometres between each of them. I think it's for these guys, they've got about 6 actually to go until they get their final test, which is the Nokkeberg, and then it's well, it's hell for leather to the line, and that's where you're going to get some real control. And look how the wind is blowing up. It is absolutely billowing. And attack points, and particularly knowing the road and its character, Brian, is going to be a huge factor.
And it's just knowing the changes in direction. Predominantly the wind is kind of blowing in the riders' faces. We're just looking at the main group of riders, the Peter Sagan group, the world champion. In front we have got 11 riders who have been away all day, and then we've got this group. But if the helicopter was to pan out, I think there's another group probably about 40-50 seconds behind. In this group we know Christoph is here, Terpstra, it looks like Quinziato at the back for BMC, but this is a very select group. We mentioned, I'm trying to see just in front, I think Caleb Ewan could be in this group, just in front of the riders from Lotto Jumbo. He's a small man, so it's very difficult to see him, but I think he is still in this group. But the team's willing to push it on, and you can see Orica, so Caleb Ewan must be in this group. Ethics and IAM have numbers with Tom Boonen in this front group as well, so they want to keep the pressure on.
Certainly do. Nice to see the aforementioned Zico from Giant Alpecin, who's managed to get himself back in. It really has had a massive impact, and especially if you are one of the quicker men, you are going to suffer on the climbs, even though they're only, what, a kilometre in length and averaging, what, 5-7% over quickly. But it's a real punch to the solar plexus, is it not, when you're essentially not built for that kind of terrain? You're a quick man.
Yeah, it's difficult. The thing is, you have to ride these races from the front. With the wind, you can just see the wind. It was into a predominantly headwind. Now it's slightly from the right-hand shoulders of the riders. That's why they're kind of fanning out to the left of the road now. So it's been good racing since we've come on air. Just before we came in on it, we went up the old Quaremont, and it was Peter Sagan, the world champion, that kind of blew the race apart. It came back together with possibly a group of about 100, and then we went on to the cobble section with the kind of dirt paths at the sides, and it blew apart again, and this is what's left of the peloton.
My goodness, chase most certainly on, but by a very select group. Some have more teammates than others, and the protection that affords you, Brian, is going to be oh so important, especially when you come out of the protection of a little town that we're coming through right now, one of these little hamlets. It's once you exit these built-up areas that offer you some modicum of protection from the wind, that all of a sudden you find yourself in a hellish position, not necessarily on a Heligan, but dealing with wind, and the real impact of that is yet to be seen in this race. With 54.7 kilometres to go, the last 50 are going to be extraordinarily wearing. The more personnel they have at your disposal, the better it's going to be for you.
Yeah, it is. It's going to be a very difficult situation now for many teams, because they don't have numbers in the front. I mean, you look at the history of this race, you know, predominantly has been a fast man that's won it, but today this is the peloton. That's what's left of the peloton, probably about 40 riders, and it just goes to show you that a lot of teams here have come to Kuurne after the Omloop het Nieuwsblad yesterday and decided, well, I want to try and get something from this race. Nice to see Luke Rowe right up towards the front for Team Sky as well, the Welshman, but it does look as if with Durbridge towards the front of this peloton now, that Caleb Ewan is in this group. You can just see him, I think, just towards the back on the left-hand side, not showing his numbers, but it does look as if Caleb Ewan is on a good day. And a lot of teams will be happy with this situation. I know that Lotto Soudal were happy, because at the end of the day, it's how they're going to win it. I don't think they've maybe got a fast enough man in this group. They want to try and make it as hard as possible. I know that maybe Tom Boonen and Ethics want to make this race hard as possible, because that's the way that they can possibly win this race, rather than from a large 100 to 120 man group sprint.
Alexander Kristoff is here, the big, powerful Norwegian. He offers up a big profile to the wind, and maybe you'll find it wearing. At the moment, he's doing his best to remain hidden. He had the beating of Mark Cavendish in Oman, of course, but well, we'll see. Mark not racing this time, but I could have made it 3 in a row, but Dimension Data not opting for this particular race. You can't do them all, Brian.
No, it's difficult. You got to remember that these are high-level races, but at the end of the day, there's other races on. Dimension Data are doing a Tour of Langkawi with pretty much an African team, and you can't do every race. And with a step up to World Tour, the team is concentrating on the World Tour races, and Mark Cavendish is riding the track World Championship. So as you said, we can't be everywhere, and we have to kind of pick and choose, which is a pity, because I absolutely love these races. We rode them last year with MTN Quebec. Fantastic to be involved with, but we can't be everywhere.
You've done this race yourself. How tough?
It's a tough race. When I rode this race, it was actually in the rain and the winds. Okay, it's cold today and nice and sunny, but it's a difficult race, and you can just see the riders that are starting to struggle at the front of this group. A lot of orders been shouted out by the guys from Orica Green Edge, Henrik Hausler, the Australian, in there. But just look behind. If you can just see, there is a group probably about 30 seconds behind this main group, and hopefully we'll be able to pick that up. So there's still opportunities for riders that have been dropped in this previous climb.
Well, we've got Sagan, of course, from Tinkoff. Oscar Gatto also has made it over. He's one of the faster boys as well. Still looking to try and find Bouhanni. I don't think he's here, but Florian Saint-Charles is, and he's a reasonable sprinter, as you can see. And I believe
there's no numbers. It could be Bouhanni. It's sitting behind his teammate just in front. So
no, it's not him. Oh, hang on.
Seneschal was in front, and it looks as if that could be Bouhanni.
Oh yeah, I said no, and then all of a sudden
he's got the French national champs jersey, stripes on his. So
Nasser's made it. Well, this is good news for Nasser, also for us, because with Caleb Ewan in here, Nasser Bouhanni, Sagan, we've got Alexander Kristoff, Tom Bonan's boys, Ethics Quickstep, have been doing most of the destructive work today, and no surprise there after the disappointment that they suffered yesterday of basically just missing the break. They weren't going to do that again.
Yeah, it's a bit missing the break and controlling things, and it's a pity for them that some of the teams come up very late on. When you're Ethics, and you've got some top riders. I think he's written on his own numbers himself.
He has. It's a
choose your number today and write it on your back.
Bit of play school. So yeah, he's obviously lost it. I'm not sure whether that counts. He might get a modest fine. He doesn't want whatever's in that bottle. Thank you very much. Is it hot tea? No, I want hot tea. Have some water. Oh, all right then. You can get some warming drinks handed to you on a day like this. It's an extremely pleasant surprise.
Yeah, some of the teams use warm tea and honey. I wouldn't be surprised if they weren't using that today. But it's when you're racing out, coming to 50 kilometres to go, they should be pretty warm already. It was a chilly start this morning, but you can just see riders looking back. This is the second group. They're within about 30 seconds now. So. The splits on one of the previous climbs now, it looks as if it could be coming back together. So just when we thought there was going to be about 40 riders coming into these finishing laps, this group, if it makes it, could definitely swell the numbers to close to about 80 riders in the front of the race. Yeah,
a vast pool of talent to take it on. By the way, some of the other names that are here, Dylan Groenewegen of Lotto NL is also here. He can climb good and go extremely well in this sort of terrain. Just reminding myself that Dylan Groenewegen beat Bouhanni in Valencia, of course. So the man from Lotto Jumbo, Lotto NL Jumbo, the Dutch lottery, in the yellow and black, also in a good place. It's not going to bode well for them, though, if the numbers swell and those teams with a multiple advantage of having workmen around you suddenly have it neutralised by the fact that just an awful lot more personnel. Who's your pick today, Brian? It's a long way out, but we've got no more climbing to come. These guys have just got to go up the Nokkerenberg, which, by the way, they've been riding at the moment, and in fact the pictures we've had from the helicopters haven't really spelt any kind of danger from them. So it's the ride in. Here's Bouhanni with his tea choice. Is it tea? By the way, I was a little bit confused about Bouhanni because it appeared that he got ginger hair. I don't know. Maybe he's Maybe he's bleached it partially. I'm not quite sure. So I was thinking, no, he's definitely not got ginger hair, but my mistake. So, who's your pick after that very long throw?
Yeah.
I gave you a chance to think of something.
I think Christoph still has to be favourite. You can just see the group behind. This is the front group of 11. This is the original breakaway, sitting 45 seconds in front of the Sagan group. They're on the Nokkereberg, which is only very short. It's only about 350 metres long. But the group coming back from behind does have numbers of Orica Green Edge riding on the front. They want to come up and help Calabune. You cannot discount him. It's 200 kilometres this race today, very much within the reach of Calabune. But Christoph, some numbers in that second of the groups behind this front group. So Katusha riders could be coming back, but then again, this is a team that's tried to split it in Old Quartermall, tried to split it in one of the previous cobble sections, and again, they want to keep the pressure on. They don't want this group that are only about 25 seconds behind to come back.
And as you can see, Essex are still throwing the hammer down. They've had this almost embarrassment, I think it's fair to say, of messing it up essentially. There'll be other riders calling the motorcycle away, saying, look, stop adding a little bit of aero assist to these guys, and bottles being offered up by all and sundry. The race for the gutters is going on at the moment. That's where the flat earth section is, to help the rain run away from the cobbles. It's all very well going there, but if you have elevated paving at the side, you can get yourself something of a nasty surprise on your downstroke, and it can take you to a place you don't want to go, which is on the deck. Looks like they've got away with it. We saw Viviani. We haven't really mentioned him. We saw him suffering much earlier in this race. I don't think he's part of this main group.
No, he was getting dropped at the early on in the Old Quartermall, but I tell you what, this race is hotting up again. This gap came down to about 20 seconds. You can see the second group at the front. It was being led by Martin Telinge. Godin was the rider from AG2R, but right at the front you can just see Vermont wanting to keep the pressure on, but no one wants to help him.
No, he's asking for it.
You can see Lotto Sudan Trek not really wanting to push the pressure on. Sagan realising the danger and come up. He's in tremendous form. I think Muscon is there for Sky. So many riders. Looks like Van Avermaet now coming up, the winner from yesterday, following Pedro Sagan. So it's all hotting up now. And but this time Ethics have got their man Vermont in this group, but this is a very dangerous group forming here. I think it's Rollins is at the back for in the red for Lotto Soudal.
So Sagan checks over his shoulder. At least he's got some allies for the time being. The trouble is, whenever he's in a break like this, as soon as he gets to the fore, everybody realizes it's him, that he's part of it, let there be no doubt, and all of a sudden they start leaning on him. It happened a little bit earlier before we came on air up the Kuurne, and I'm afraid the punch by Sagan, although it did have an impact on some of those further back in the group, it really, I'm afraid he ended up just giving up in the end and betting himself back in and saving it for another time. And this might be that time. Just look at the haylage there, the covers on the, not quite silage, not quite hay, just being blown. You can see the tarpaulin just being torn apart there, plastic covering I should say, and it's the wind, and there's plenty of it. You can hear it on the effects mic, and Sagan likes this.
He does. He knows he might not have a strong enough team today to help him. He might not be fast enough. You know, he was beaten yesterday, but he really wants to race this opening weekend. And he realises that if he's got a chance of winning this race, it has to be from a smaller group. So you can see the makeup of this front group, and it's the strong men yet again from yesterday. Van Avermaet's there, Sagan's there. So many good riders, and are they going to keep pushing on? A lot are looking behind, a lot of indecisive looks behind, and just as we say that, you can just see Cofidis, I think it is, in the red, starting to bring this all back together again.
Sagan's winding it up yet again. He doesn't want to be divorced from any talent that's ahead of him. And in fact, he's sort of on marshalling duties at the moment. It's Dries de Weyens, by the way, for I Am Cycling in this particular group that he's just watching. And Sagan goes again. He decides to turn it on. And this is him. He looks nice and relaxed always, but this is usually him at his most aggressive. And just look what it's doing behind him. He's absolutely going to blow this race apart. And he can go very long, as I'm sure you well know, but he won't be ridiculed by riders around him. And Sagan is Well, he's just wearing those rainbows jersey, those rainbows with pride. 10 seconds. You can see the group in front. Vermont just edges alongside him. And just look at the power difference that he's able to engage. We saw him go from a reasonable distance in the World Championships. This must be a hell of a sight for those who are up the road. Suddenly Sagan just ploughing through, and I suspect he may well just leave these guys behind. He's not going to rest up, and there's the response almost immediately. That's Roman Cardis in fact, I beg your pardon, that is Jaap de Man, and he is at the moment out front, but it's all falling apart. Those who had some ambitions today have just seen it cruelly neutered, and the man who is issuing the hammer blows is Peter Sagan, the world champion himself.
Yeah, it's amazing to see, you know, his efforts yesterday, and yeah, again today it looks as if he's in amazing form. But you can look back into the peloton and you won't see many of his teammates. So how is he going to win this race? This is a rider from the original breakaway at Trocino, the 23-year-old Italian. He never finished yesterday. Race for Southeast, the Italian team, and wants to try and prove something. So he'll be the last rider that will be brought back from the original breakaway of 11.
Well, no, almost got it very, very wrong. Look at the pennant man. Watch where the triangle tip is. That will have knocked him back a bit, I'm afraid. DNF yesterday, so put something in the bank. Here comes everybody else. Will anyone else make the same mistake? No. Oh, well, you can get it wrong and get it very, very wrong. Just looking at the wrestle that's going off out in front, it's one of the boys from Top Sport, Vladran, that's on the chase down right now. Here's that little error. Nothing too serious, thank heaven. He probably could have bisected the pennant man there and done a little bunny hop. For the time being, he maintains 10 seconds, but it's all bar done, I'm afraid. DNF yesterday. A lot of riders did hold something back yesterday. It's worth actually looking through some of the results for some of the quick men and just finding how easy they did indeed take it. Top Sport are represented up here. Is that Bart van Lerberger, though? Because he's their chosen quick man. Looks like him.
It could. I'm not too sure from this front shot, but you know, who's going to take control of this front group? I know they won't be too worried about the original breakaway or Trocino, the Italian, in front, but looking behind, and that group, that second group in the road, is still within 30 seconds of them, so we could have a general regroupment. Nobody really wanted to take control. Some neutral set. You just see them in the background, still within 30 seconds, a large group. We're going to see some more attacking yet left in this race.
We'll take a break.
Look as if there's no rider want to control this race.
Blue row, part of the push, as you can see. They constantly seem to be sending out satellite riders, and those who've got options are more given to do so. Luke Rowe it was that got up the road. I'd say that he's probably one of their best chances today, because Elia Viviani, by the way, is nowhere. Somebody asking on Twitter, AJC12, Alfie Crockett, can you tell us about Gilbert? Yeah, he's not here. Danny Oss is here. Greg Van Avermaet, of course, for BMC. We'll see what they can deliver. But just look at this. All of a sudden, the alarm bells go off, Brian, when you start to see a group begin to swell up front. And it's a real effort to make a bridge, especially when the wind is blowing. You can see from the trees here, they're not in full leaf, so they're not catching the wind as much as they might. But there is a lot of wind out here, and it makes your effort, you can see the echelons forming on the chase, it makes your effort all the more difficult.
It does. I said you have to pay attention the whole way through this race, and there's no teams coming to the front in numbers because they've raced hard over the climbs. We're now onto the kind of flatter part of the course. With the flatter part and the more open part of the course, you can see there's some crosswinds. Aren't really affecting the riders too much at this moment, but because of the racing, there is a depleted number at the front of this race today, Kuurne versus Kuurne, over 200 kilometres, and not one team is taking control of this front group, and there's a lot of an attacking, and you know, everybody knows 40 kilometres to go. If there's a group of 8 or 10 riders go away, that could be it.
Certainly could. Look at the wind, it's blowing up a hoolie, and I know those flags are of the lightest polyester. Yeah, they are showing a proper wind direction. If there was a windsock here, it would probably be approaching horizontal. It's a proper wind blowing. And on the exit from little places such as this, as Trocino is about to be caught by this rather tasty group of about 15, 16 riders, as you can see, and they're starting to look at each other as well. I guess it's at moments like this you want to know who's around you. And yeah, sometimes you don't get the answer that you were perhaps hoping for. Be careful what you ask, I guess. 39.3 kilometres to go. Brian, we're soon going to be on this circuit, and then it's going to be familiar terrain to a lot. It's a circuit we've used last year.
Yeah, 15.3 kilometres twice round, but interestingly to see Janto Barker has actually made it into this front group. So Janto using experience following the right wheels. Tom Bonin is there, Vermont is there for Ethics. 4 more riders trying to come across this gap. So we have got a mixture of riders that were in the original group of 11. Probably a good move by some of them. Okay, you waste a lot of energy, but at least you can, you can relax a little bit, pick your lines. But it's been fast and furious racing in the peloton, and nervous racing even when we approached the old Quaremont, and then just the race went bang. Still a lot of racing to be had. There's a group about, as you say, 15, 16 riders, 4 in between, and this is the peloton. But just behind them, about 30 seconds back, there's another group about 40, 50 riders.
Nicky Terpstra is in here as well. Indeed, they're riding the curves, including Buani with his handmade numbers, as you can see. He'll be looking for to hover on somebody else's train, I imagine, at least for the time being. He's got one other rider with him who's reasonably quick, Florian Saint-Charles. But the Cofidis rider, Buani, in the red, finding himself hiding at the moment. As far left of your screen, Zico Vatens just avoiding a little bit of street furniture and taking a shortcut around the highly illuminated pennant men. There we go. Taking a smoother run, David Boucher. Well, why wouldn't you? You see the actual road surface, the main road surface. You'll see a shock occasionally through the camera. Slab concrete. It's not very nice to drive. You get that dum 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 even when you're at speed. You get it on a bicycle as well, and it's not the most comfortable surface. Belgium not known for the quality of its road surfacing. Sorry, Belgium. Shocking roads, but good fun on occasion, especially for the viewer, I think it's fair to say. So 12 seconds, our hopefuls. That's what they've got. And here they are, including, I might add, Oscar Gatto.
Yeah, Gatto's there, number 8, Jürgen Rollins, and also this Laguten of the Katusha team. This is one of the original breakaways, just kind of sitting on the back Turgo. But it looks as if this is a strong group in front, and stuck behind this 4-man group is the what's left of the the front peloton, including the Caleb Ewan. So it'll be interesting to see who Orica have got in this front group, and they've got one rider. It could be Kukulair, so they might be happy to see Kukulair in this front group, take the pressure off a little bit with Caleb Ewan in the second group. But it's nice to see the Welshman again at the front for Sky, and that's Luke Rowe. Tremendous ride yesterday in 4th, and in a very good position today.
Well, nice to see Tom Bonin is undiminished, it seems, especially when he's riding in Belgium. Just wants to show what he can do on a regular basis. His team have worked extremely hard, both on behalf of him and, of course, others with a chance today, and there are plenty with a chance. Matteo Palucci is up here for I Am Cycling, by the way, as well. And there are your gaps, and it looks like this group, including Gatto, have decided that they've probably done just about enough for the time being. So we're on the approach. We'll be coming into the first crossing of the line. We'll cross it 3 times, by the way, because we enter the circuit and then cross it for the first time, and then we have 2 laps to go. Sagan looks so lively today, and more than that, he actually looks dangerously relaxed.
Yeah, he's enjoying himself. I don't think he's putting too much pressure on himself. He's missed out in this front group now. You just see the rider in the red helmet, Scott Thwaites, up there. He had a good ride in 16th yesterday for Bora Aragon. But I tell you what, on this main road here, you got a group about 15, 16 riders. Not everybody wants to work behind, a lot of looking behind. Then you've got a group about 30-odd riders, and he's still got that group about 40 behind. It could all come back together.
Well, it could. They need to stay on their bikes, of course. Thankfully, it's not raining today, but it is blowing a gale, as you can see from the movement of some of the trees. We'll take a break with 35 or so Ks to go.
veloism.com.
Welcome back, everybody. Rough day. It just got worse for Stig Brooks. He's just been taken out by a medical motorcycle. Yeah, you heard that right. Sort of a fast response ambulance on a bike. Don't know whether they've been called forward. There's no sirens or anything, and unfortunately Stig Brooks got tagged and taken out. He doesn't look over seriously hurt, but you can never tell what shock masks. He ended up on the deck, and the motorcycle rode on despite being a medical bike. I imagine was probably told to get the hell out of there and just stay out of trouble, but it wasn't a pleasant sight. So yet again, unfortunately, automotive interference has caused an accident, and it wasn't pretty stuff, I can tell you, Stig Brooks, if you missed it. 32.2 kilometres to go. 31 seconds is the gap now. I think we're going to have a general coming together, but this, Brian, is a group of what, 14 riders?
16.
Looks super talented. Your maths is better than mine.
I just counted them.
There you I was trying to be
you
kind.
were talking.
I do a general view. It's like counting cattle in the Wild West. I gave it my best possible guess. Don't know where that came from, but anyway, just look at the wind. That's not the helicopter that's generating that. These guys are kicking up a storm as well. We're going to have one spectacular finish. We're approaching our finish line, Brian. We'll nip across it in about a kilometre time.
Yeah, the riders will know this lap. This is, you know, a lap they do every time they come into Harelbeke, 15.3 kilometres. They do it twice around. So this is the approach. They'll turn left soon, head towards the finishing line. You can just see that's where the final kilometre will be. Yeah, there's your Flamme Rouge. It's sort of masked from us at the moment. But yes, in a short while they're going to take a sharp left-hander, and it'll be the corner that every sprint team is racing for with 600 metres to go. There is a chance to reassemble yourselves, and reassembling right here. There's our Aussie friend I was telling you about, Lee Howard, who's bedded in amongst these IAM. So they've got four guys up here. Nasser Bouhanni is freeloading on their particular train at the moment, but he's got his teammate further ahead, Florian Saint-Charles, also in the red of Cofidis. So this will be your approach, and it's going to get very lively. I think these guys don't look minded to kick on, but and the shakes of head as well. Oh dear, it's not gone according to plan for some. No, it's been a good race actually. Normally a big bunch comes down this finishing straight into town, but it's been a really good race this year. Still don't know who's in the strongest position at the moment. We know that Christoph is in the group behind, just coming around the corner now. That's about 600 metres between this front group with Tom Boonen and Luke Rowe and the group. But just look at the other group behind, led by Lotto NL Jumbo. So there are a lot of riders in that. So these two groups could come together. You can see some red jerseys in the second group. So Katusha and Cofidis could combine together. They're going to cross the line of what, about 30 seconds behind. So there's just about 30 kilometres to go, and these two groups, it looks as if they are going to come together with firepower from behind. Wow. Well, you saw the shake of the head from Tom Boonen in the front group. More groups than a high school battle of the bands. And they cross the line right now, and Bouhanni wanted to have a decent look at it. You saw him just meerkatting within the main body there. And just look at this, there's a lot of talent out here that believe that they can win this day. It's going to come down to a quick man, possibly a strong man. And if you combine those, maybe Sagan can take that extra step forward than he did yesterday. And the world champion could be our winner, but it's anybody's guess. Did you pick one, by the way? Yeah, I said Christoph a while ago. You did. I don't think I picked one, which means that I've had far more time. Just take the winner. Hands up from Ollie Nason, says thank you very much, I'd like another drink. He's did a lot of work and he just grabs one. You can see the power that these guys, the pace that these guys are taking. It looks quite benign, doesn't it? But when the whiplash of the bottle take, you really realise how quickly these guys going, even when they look almost at rest. Yeah, you have to move your arm back when you take a bottle. You can't just put your hand out and expect to take it, because it just, you know, the impact bounces it out. But I would think that Ethics would be happy with this. Not too sure I am. That's why the I am rider is riding at the back. One rider in there from Orica Green Edge. Looks as if it's actually Magnus Kort Nielsen Magnus Kortnels is in there. He's a good sprinter. They could be happy with that, but I would think that with the numbers of Orica behind, they might want to try put some riders in the front for Caleb Ewan. So with only 38 seconds or 39 seconds inside the last 30 kilometres, this race could come back together and we could actually see a bunch finish in the end.
Wow, a mass sprint. That's what Tom Bonan doesn't particularly want, which has the shake of the head. They cross the line for the first time of asking. It will be 3 times, don't forget, but 2 laps then. Luke Rowe, Grim Ligdards up here, Tom Bonan, as we've seen, Vermont likewise. It's a band of brothers for now, and they've got a decent gap as well. Nason, Nielsen, Van Avermaet, Castellines also up here. Boy Van Poppel, Anderson, you were right, is him. Sam Schneider also. Goodness me, Perrichon de Vries, Duchesne, the Canadian as well, in pleasant company. It's a decent group, but well, have they got enough to actually marshal the day, I think is the question, because behind them there's a lot of teams who've missed out on this and would like to be involved.
Yeah, a lot of teams. BMC would be happy with Van Avermaet. Synthetics would be happy with Vermont and Bonan. Sky with Luke Rowe. I would think that Lotto Soudal might be happy enough with Pim Ligdards. Said nice to see Janto Bakker in there. He's been in the breakaway all day. Yesterday finishing the Omloop Het Nieuwsblad in 137th position, but doing a lot better. But it does look as if Lotto Soudal, we said, well, might be happy with Pim Ligdard. Well, this tells the story. Not happy. They want to bring it back for De Buchera and just see the faces of Katusha. 2 of the riders from Katusha showing their teeth were actually in the other half of the peloton, the back half of the peloton. It's come back together. They've been told, right, get to the front with Lagutin, start put the pressure on. So with the red jerseys of Lotto Soudal, Katusha, possibly 1 or 2 other teams, you can just see the white jerseys of IAM. They have got a rider in front, but would they be happy with that rider? I'm not too sure. So a lot of red jerseys, willing to bring it all back together. 41 seconds, still 26 kilometres to go. We could see our bunch finish in the end. This,
to me, is a free ride for Caleb Ewan if Katusha are working so hard for Alexander Kristoff. But therein lies the problem, Brian. You can ask a lot of your own team, but it's who's going to ask the biggest questions. And at the moment, it's Lotto and Katusha. They're the ones that have felt that it's not going according to their plans, at least. And even though they've got riders up the road, they're not satisfied with that. They think their best chance lays with other personnel. It's a tough thing, isn't it, when you're in a breakaway and you're being attacked by your own team, essentially?
Yeah, it's difficult to work it out, but, you know, race radios and all events nowadays, the UCI allowing that, so everybody will be given their orders. And, you know, with Pim Ligdard, he's a good rider, potential winner of this race, but Lotto Soudal thinking, well, with Bonan and Van Avermaet there, maybe not the best situation for them. 2 riders actually from Ethics, Bonan and Vermont, so they have to look at the best options for them, as we see 2 cars fight over who's going to cross this bridge. But yeah, it's
Brian always wins that one.
Very open. It's very open now, but this does look as if it could actually come back together now.
Oscar Gatto just crossing over the bridge as well. He was looking a little bit lively earlier on. He's looking a bit second-hand now, I'm afraid.
But the thing is, Tinkoff don't have a lot of numbers. Benatti pulled out earlier on today. Nizolo for Trek out earlier on today. I've heard that Sam Bennett from Bora, the Irishman, out, retired from this race. So what sprinters have we got left in the race? We know that Kristoff is there. We know that De Buchera is there with Lotto Soudal riding in the front. Caleb Ewan is in there. Bahani's there. Sagan, if you put him in there. So it's been very interesting to see, because we never actually picked up too many of the riders in the second of the peloton. Now that they're all merged together, hopefully we can pick out some more, have made it to the front of this race.
Well, this circuit has its fascinating sections. This perhaps not one of them, but look what it's done as they come through the tunnel, and these little shimmies, almost chicanes, which have squeezed the pack. Indeed, it's long and strung out. So we're going to take ourselves a commercial break with the gap holding at 38-39 seconds, as you can see. For the time being, decent high pace. We're on the final circuit. The final lap will be 15 k's in length. Alarm bells ringing. 22.4 kilometres to go. 36 seconds is the gap, but the talent that's up front is outstanding. Let's tell you who they are then. Luke Rowe from Team Sky is in the front brake as you're looking at it. Pim Ligdart is here from Lotto Soudal. Obviously not the chosen one because Lotto are doing a lot of work. Katusha, nobody here. Tinkoff, nobody here. Tom Bonan is here with Julian Vermont from Ethics Quickstep in their dark blue. Bonan still sporting that sort of raggedy beard that he carries into the races, keeps him warm. Ollie Nason from I Am Cycling, as opposed to Palucki and Howard, who are sitting in behind, not doing too much work, but I Am Cycling is still pushing on and the chase down. Francis Desjeux, nobody here, so forget about Arnaud Domer. Magnus Nielsen is here from Orica Green Edge, although their chosen one is Caleb Ewan, we believe, in his first senior race on cobbles. BMC have representation with Greg van Avermaet, but it's clearly not enough for them because they're up towards the four as well, and still thinking about some chasing, maybe for Jem-P Drucker, we'll see. AG2R, nobody here. Keistens is, Castellines, I beg your pardon, from Lotto Jumbo, with Groenewegen, their chosen man behind, but giving them an excuse not to chase. Boy Van Poppel of Trek Factor Racing in their familiar black and white is up towards the front. Soren Anderson, the Great Dane for Giant, is there with Stamschneider, despite the fact that Zico Veitens, I wonder if Veitens was looking a bit tired. He managed to get back on a couple of times after the climbs, but he'll have to refine a lot of his power, and this is that main body that are chasing on. Torsino is still in the break after being in the break for much of the day, along with Boy Van Poppel, of course. We also have Bonamore and Perichon from the Fortuneo Vital Concept. Bit of a mouthful. Duchesne from Team Direct Energy, and De Vries from Roompot, who was also in the original break. Brian, I think they're doomed. 21 to go, especially with the motivation which appears behind them, and some of those riders up the road are not going to want to take a full turn because they clearly don't have a full interest in staying away.
Yeah, that's what you've got. You've got a group of 16, not all of them willing to contribute, and then you've got this group, the main peloton. Most of these riders are pretty much tired by now, having to do a lot of work in the front, and you know, Christoph was kind of alone in the front, had to make some efforts himself. So how much has the Katusha team got left in the legs to chase this down? So, you know, with the help of Lotto Soudal, but I think Orica need to, you know, you can just see them sitting in the top 20. They have to think about this. They won't do any chasing at the moment. They'll allow Katusha and Lotto Soudal to do pretty much all of the chasing today. They've got a man in the breakaway. Why should they chase? But they have got a potential winner. And that potential winner could be Caleb Ewan, and you want to give them the best possible chance. Will one rider, Magnus Cort Nielsen, classic bike rider, but is he capable of winning from this group of 16? That's the question they have to ask themselves. You can just see no cohesion now in the front group as Boy Van Poppel in the original breakaway just is allowed to pretty much just ride off the front of this group. It's all over. Yeah. And Vermont is looking about. It's going to come back together. This gap is going to come down very quickly. With two riders in the front group, I wouldn't really be surprised. You see Magnus Cort Nielsen, he's just talking to Vermont. I'm not allowed to ride, so it's all for Caleb Ewan to do.
There we are. And this is not going to bode well. It's not going to go down very well with Tom Bonan. He's been having chats with various people throughout this day. He doesn't look overly pleased with the way this is panning out. I'm not surprised. 38 seconds, it says. I don't think it is 38 seconds. I think it's less than that, and it certainly will be fairly soon, unless somebody's very motivated to push on out of this group. But unfortunately, to my mind, Boy Van Poppel certainly not up for it. Tom Bonan himself decides to come and try and instill a little bit of pace and maybe some belief in those around him, but nobody looks overly minded to go for this. We've been stuck at 38 seconds for quite some time now, Brian. I'm beginning to not believe in that gap. I think it's probably a little bit less than that.
No, if you see the cars have been taking out the gap. The cars are normally taking out the gap when it comes down under 30 seconds. So I wouldn't think it's much more than that now. Just really no cohesion. You said a lot of the riders having the use of the radio. A lot of riders sitting in the back. I think as it comes back down a little bit more, we will see maybe a couple of attacks, but this gap is coming down very quickly now.
There we are, 19 kilometres to go. Now, this is going to be a fascinating approach that you've got right now. In fact, they've done a couple of turns. They're on a sort of a lazy right-hander, if the ticker is correct, and I believe it is. In fact, with about 3.2 kilometres to go, so about 18 points, so in about 500 metres time, they're going to take what is a pretty focused left-hander, and it'll be the first of the primary corners that they're going to want to hit absolutely on their marks. It is a left-hander, and so you'll see them drifting over to the right-hand side of the road to give themselves the best view of it on the turn-in. 30 seconds is the gap right now as being declared, but it looks like it suits just about everybody. The rule of thumb basically is a minute for 10Ks. If you've got a minute, you can probably stay out there, but there is some talent up front, as you know. None bigger name in these parts than Tom Bonan, but it doesn't look like it's going to be his day, and he's already handing out handshakes.
No, it doesn't. He's ridden well, and I'll give him a bit of confidence. They have got 2 riders in the front group with Bonan and Vermaat, but you know, they're doing the right thing now. On this road, the last time round, coming into the finishing circuit, this is where it all split up. So nice to see actually Orica coming to the front and you know, helping out with the workload with Christoph's team and also the Lotto Soudal team, both teams in red. But just look as if it's setting itself up, for a nice bunch sprint now.
You said that one. 28 seconds.
Just licking my lips with anticipation.
I think you're after a Claremont beer. They brew a special one now. I believe it's not too strong. It's about 7.5%. There is the aforementioned beer represented in an air bridge. But yes, it's a refreshing tipple with your Dauphinois potatoes. 17. I don't know why that came to mind, but anyway, 17.6 fridge in this part of the world, for goodness sake. Yeah, 17.6 kilometres to go. So about 2.6 before we make the turn. They've actually made. We were stuck with the group there. We missed the big pack coming through the left-hander. Well, maybe I did. Looking at my notes. 25 seconds now, the gap, and there is the great Mr. Bonan. Good to see him back. Apparently deaf in one ear after his crash last year.
What was that?
It's no laughing matter. Tom took such a hit, fractured skull, and in fact we believe has lost permanently the hearing in one ear, and there he is. Well, he may well have been in preservation mode on occasion, but this perhaps is not one of them. And I like this as well. Boy Van Poppel, he and his erstwhile teammate as well, up towards the front, doing a good job of sharing duties, or at least keeping some action in it. 16.9 to go, so there's the Flamme Rouge that will be next time by that is beckoning, and I think that's just stirred them into action just a little bit. Yes, in fact, there is Van Poppel looking, it is his teammate who's looking like his job has finally been done today. 20 seconds only. It is going to come together, Brian, so I presume you're going to stick with Alexander Christoph. His team certainly have been hugely motivated. I'd love to see Caleb Ewan do it. I always like watching the Aussies in action at this time of year because they come out of the winter so strong, courtesy of the great races that they have down under, including the Tour itself by that very same name. But I'd love to see as well the man who went so well in the Cadel Evans race. Lee Howard just delivered today, and he is in the house. That's Stuyven up front. Boy Van Poppel, his teammate, has just gone backwards a little bit. He was a man that was missing from our list earlier on, by the way, Stuyven. He's not missing at the moment. He's firing on all cylinders, it seems. That motorcycle incident, Brian, I think we were very lucky to get away with. Stig Brooks looked like he was very lucky to get away with it. It's going to be a talking point at the end of today. Terrible,
absolutely terrible. I know there's you know, a lot of motorbikes at the front of the races, and actually you know, quite a lot of the riders are saying you know, they're changing the outcome of you know, some races. They want them out of the way. You can see a lot of motorbikes here,
yeah.
So they have to keep out of the way. But this was actually passing the peloton and took out one of the riders. Absolutely dangerous. We saw it happen in San Sebastian with Van Avermaet last year. It has to stop. You see, I have to really look at you know, where these motorbikes are placed. You look at the pictures now, and motorbikes everywhere. Okay, you need the pictures, but there's so many other bikes. Do they really need to be there?
It's a big question we'll leave hanging in the air. So we cross the line, and the bell. Somebody's going to have a big left arm. ringing the cloche, and here we come. So these are the chase, and it's Tom Bonen, of course, who leads over the line. I don't think it's going to be Big Tom next time by as he hears the sound of the bell. And in fact, just has it nicked on the line in a sort of faux lunge there from Perichon, I think it was, from Fortuneo. And so, how far is the gap? You're seeing it right now. There's 15 kilometres to go. This is bridgeable, Brian. And Caleb Ewan is well and truly embedded here. And indeed, the Trek boys as well to the fore. Caleb just being kept out of the wind. They're doing a fantastic job for him. Dylan Groenewegen and Lotto Jumbo are here in numbers as well. For him, this is fascinating.
Yeah, certainly is. Unfortunately for the likes of Team Sky, Viviani was dropped in the old Quaremont, so they don't have options, and that's why we've been seeing Luke Rowe trying to go with some of the smaller groups. But Stuyven rode well yesterday, coming past the team buses here. That's where we'll be getting the shower after the finish. But we've got 15 kilometres yet to ride. Still very open race, but as I said, it looks as if it's going to be a bunch finish yet again here in Harelbeke.
Nobody taking time to take a bottle at the moment. Seems no time for that. Pace up. Well, they are allowing themselves to have a quick toot. Just a brief, Brian, on colder days, which we've got here, maximum temperature 7 Celsius. Riders do have to be even more aware of dehydration, because you're still giving it away. The vapor you see on your breath in a cold morning is moisture that you're losing from your body, and it's very easy to get dehydrated on a cooler day. You know about it on a hot day, don't you?
Yeah, of course, it can't be that cold if Luke Rowe's still in. You know, he's got his short sleeve racing jersey on. He's ready to race, and race he has. He's raced tremendously over the last couple of days. But what a sky left in the peloton. I can actually see Arnaud Demar for France de Jeux in this peloton. So there are some sprinters that we've not even mentioned because they've been battling to try and stay with the peloton. So hopefully we'll be able to pick a few more of these riders out. But it's setting itself up nicely for a sprint between the likes of Christophe, Caleb Ewan. You know, Bahani's still in here. We don't know how much has Sagan got left in his legs. He'll have to do it himself because he's got no teammates. But nice to see actually the team of Orica come up to the front and try and control things and put Caleb in the best possible position for taking this win today.
It is interesting to see Arnaud Demar. I think he's going to have bragging rights against his old nemesis, Nasser Bouhanni, who is also within this group. In fact, you can see Bouhanni's men a little bit further back. Katusha have handed over duties, and in fact Lotto look like they've absolutely sacrificed themselves today. Jempi Drucker is their chosen sprinter for BMC, but Lotto, it's Jens de Vercher. Stuyven rocking and rolling. Sorry, my eyes dancing all over the place at the moment as we just check out the gaps. They've finally put them up on screen. 23 seconds now out to our lead group and 38 to that secondary group. But it's a whole world of hurt out there. Jesper Stuyven is still stretching his legs, and indeed has stayed out. We have seen individual glory, but it's a rarity, isn't it, Brian, in this race?
There is a rarity. I think we had some really bad weather conditions about 6 years ago when Bobby Traxel won. The 3 riders came to the finishing line.
Bobby
but
Traxel.
I'll tell you what, it's a real strong ride by Stuyven here.
Yeah.
I can't see him staying away, but he's put himself in with a great opportunity.
Well, Luke Rose decided he wouldn't mind a piece of that pie if it's going. Slice for him. Yes, 11.5 kilometres to go. So we're getting to the bottom end of the course, Brian. There's some big turns to come, and then essentially they're heading back and finally to home. It's a long day, this, isn't it?
It is. It's a good weekend, and luckily for the riders, they've not been hit with too much of bad weather. But Luke Rowe showing his form. So is Stuyven. Stuyven finished 9th yesterday in Omloop Het Nieuwsblad, the 23-year-old. So he's looking as if he's on some really nice form at this time of year for the classics, and could pull off a few surprises. You can just see this gap coming right down to the front group, but tell you what, Stuyven's still 42 seconds in front, coming up to 10 kilometres to go.
He is, and that's a handy gap, especially as on occasion he's out of sight, and he's in that sort of little technical section that we were telling you about right now. Does a little shimmy, as he comes back up the Vromenschaden, or something like that. Obviously the locals pronounce it a little bit better, and maybe they don't. Rowe, Lichtart, Bonen and Vermont part of this chase group. I'd love to see the never say die attitude of Tom Bonen. It's great to see these guys who have given so much. Stein de Volder's another one, isn't he, in Flanders, who just like a dog with a bone, he's just not going to let it go at all until it's actually physically taken off him by somebody.
Yeah, it's a good effort, and but it's going to be a very difficult effort from Stuyven to try and stay away. But
big gap.
You know, these riders still giving themselves an opportunity. But what us have the riders left in the bunch got left? It's Orica, it's Lotto Soudal, and it's Christoph's team of Katusha. They're tired from a lot of hard riding today. What have they got left in their legs? And now that we've got this splinter group with Van Avermaet, Bonen, Vermont, Luke Rowe, you know, they've already shown that they're strong riders. So this is going to be a little bit more difficult to probably bring these guys back.
Stuyven's won the junior Paris-Roubaix, which is no mean feat in itself. And on the Welter, the end of last year, remember the run into Murcia? Wasn't that far a distance from what we're dealing with? 182.5 it was, downhill much of the way. Certainly teed up as being one for the sprinters, and he was in a highly select group by the end, but
I had to leave the Welter because he actually fractured a bone in his hand.
That's right, he did as he crossed the line. It was oh gosh, the little one in the wrist.
Scaphoid.
Thank you. That's the one
I'm here for.
Scaphoid, Dr. Brian Smith. Don't know why, I had the word scaffold in my head. I knew it wasn't right. Scaphoid, yes, and they did rebuild him, thank goodness, and he's here now, and at the moment he could cause a little bit of embarrassment. 9.3 to go. You know, it's not beyond the realms of imagination that he could make this.
Yeah, he's not slowing down at all.
No.
And I still don't think it's enough for him to stay away. There's riders, there's radios in all the riders' ears now, so you know, there'll be sports directors in the rear to get organised. Now we're out to town, now we're into the bigger roads. It's going to be very difficult for Stuyven to stay away, but it's been an exceptional performance today and yesterday even. But I think yesterday he was saying overnight that he just kind of hesitated, but it looks as if he's going to be a great classics rider in the future. Yeah,
he's one of these guys I feel like he's been around for a lot longer than he has. He's only 23 years of age. And that Paris-Roubaix Juniors back in 2010. Dan McClay, by the way, was the man he beat at the line. We like Danny McClay. Yes, a hard man that he is. In fact, a regular feature. In fact, he's here as well, I should remind you, for Fortuneo Vital Concept. Go for it, Dan. 8.5 kilometres to go. Still 32 seconds. When do we start believing, Brian, when it says 3?
Yeah, you know, we're watching these pictures. We don't know how Stuyven is feeling. He's obviously feeling good. He's on the front. He's put in a big effort over this whole weekend. Yesterday, today, he's not shy about putting his nose in the wind. But when we look at Orica Green Edge towards the front of the peloton, they have got big numbers. The red jerseys have disappeared. Lotto Soudal have disappeared, and also Christoph's team as well have disappeared. They've put their effort in, which just goes to show you now that they've disappeared, I think they're just tired. They've had a lot of hard work already. Lotto Soudal put a lot of hard work into today's racing. They still have Pim Lichtart in the group with Bonen, but this would be a really nice win for Stuyven. But with just 8 kilometres to go just inside, he's got healthy enough advantage, but he's given it absolutely everything. Can Orica Green Edge bring it back together for a sprint?
Well, he's hanging the puppy paws off the bars there, but that's an uncomfortable thing, by the way. Your forearms really do take a beating. Nonetheless, he's holding that position. We often see Sagan doing the old puppy paws on occasion. Seems he's a supreme bike handler, even if he's controlling via the forearm instead of the hands. Keep them where they should be, kids. 33 seconds, though, and Stuyven's still out front. May look relaxed, but he's full of tension at the moment. And likewise, Bonen. These guys have only got 16 seconds on the main pack. Can Stuyven bring this home? Half a minute with 7.4 to go. He's got a couple of nasty turns, but it will take him out of sight. At the moment, he's within sight on this long sort of stretch of highway. He's going to take a 90-degree left-hander with about in about a kilometre's time. But it's a hiding to nothing, perhaps. With these guys with great vision, you can see that Sagan's just rolling towards the fore as well, and dragging in the likes of Arnaud Demar for Francis de Jeu in their red, white and blue. In fact, it's Demar and his teammates who are starting to muster for position as they're split by the road furniture yet again. Giant Alpecin have got Craig Anderson and Nico Arndt, we believe, working for Zico Vatens, but it may well be that if he's tired Vatens, they'll rejig their approach. Anybody's guess at the moment. Still 29 seconds. It is coming down, Brian, but they're going to have to go into more of an attack mode. It could be the heartbreak that he's caught within the last kilometre.
Yes, a really strong performance by the 23-year-old. Really kind of hanging on, but he's absolutely burying himself to try and stay away. Head down now, so you know, he is just thinking of keeping his tempo up as much as possible, but you know, he's going to be dying all the way to the line. 6.6 kilometres to go. It's coming down 25 seconds. Tell you what, the bunch have to try and bring these riders back, because they have got a bit between their teeth, and they're working a lot better. Lichtard comes through for Lotto Soudal in the red. Luke Rowe comes through for Team Sky. Van Avermaet, yesterday's winner, coming through. Boonen and Vermaat is also there for Ethics.
Here's your turn over the river. He'll take another 90-degree, albeit more of a lazy one with a roundabout. So he's got to keep his head about him. 23 seconds with 6.3 to go. At moments such as this, Brian, it's just going all in. There's nothing else to do. You
have to just concentrate, but the last 4 kilometres is going to be very hard. When he goes along that road, I think it's about 3 kilometres or just under 3 kilometres in length, with the wind coming from the right-hand side. He's going to die of 1,000 deaths, but you know, we're hoping he put himself in with a great chance of a win today, and he's holding on and taking all the risks he can.
He'll shorten that route home as much as he possibly can. Just threads it over the street furniture, and the pennant man going the wrong way around him. I always think these pennant men sometimes want to swallow their whistles. They do have to be brave on occasion, especially when the pack has to go either side of them.
I'll tell you what, the group behind of 6 riders are getting closer to Stuyven than actually the peloton. Or the peloton in the last 2 kilometres have only taken off a mere 5 seconds. So he's holding them at 22, 23 seconds. And I think the closer he gets to the finish, these riders start looking at each other. But I think there's a bit of a chat between them all. They're working well together, and they're still within a chance of winning this race today as well.
There we are. 23 seconds is the gap right now. I don't know if it says 23 by the time we say 2Ks. Will we still believe it? I think we probably will. We said 3. There we are. That's the 5K to go banner. He's going to be in a whole world of hurt, though, fairly shortly. He's going to leave town, essentially. 5 kilometres to go. Lone rider up the road, and he's making a fantastic job of it. Absolutely superb. These are the chasers, including Tom Boonen. But the question is, can he possibly make it? Jesper Stuyven, he's only 23 years of age, and he's got a fantastic opportunity right now. Problem is, he's still got 4.8 kilometres to go, and that chasing group has got Boonen in it, so highly motivated. He's got a teammate with him as well, Julian Vermaat. Wow, who else from that other pack? They're 42 seconds adrift. They may well have left it too late. That's growing. 18 seconds is their gap right now, and these guys still don't have that much to push into the chase down. 24 seconds is holding with 4.5 to go. The big turn is going to come at about 3.2 kilometres, so in well, do the maths yourself, 1.2 K's time, this man is going to take a big turn, and then the wind will be a crosswind, a pretty stiff one as well. You can see from the flags that are blowing all over the place, and he might well be as well emotionally by the end if it doesn't work out for him. He's just got to keep his head down, not look behind him, because whatever he sees there is not what he wants to see. He needs to start thinking down the road here, Brian. He's got 4.1 Ks to go. Yeah,
he's within sight. This is going to be a very close one. You know, I'd love to see him take the one. I like riders going out in front and doing this. A bit of a chat between Vermaat, but looked as if Lichtard is starting to sit on now. but no pictures from the peloton, and we believe that Orica Green Edge are still at the front. We're going to go up this road and turn left, and then it'll be into the wind from the right-hand side. Can he hold off? 24 seconds now. It's starting to look a lot better for him now.
Well, it certainly is. It's a northeasterly, by the way, so it's a very cold wind today, and he's kept the arm warmers on, got rid of the leg warmers, and these guys can see him, and Tom Bonan's starting to think about this. But who else is going to be tempted by this one?
Well, it looks as if Luke Rowe is starting to suffer a wee bit. He's put a big effort in today, and also yesterday starting to suffer a little bit. So everybody's on the limit now, which kind of lends itself to Stuyven. Stuyven still got 24 seconds. The peloton are not closing in, and if he's got enough left, he just has to put it all out there. 25 seconds. It's looking a lot better now.
Greg Van Avermaet, winner yesterday. What's going through his mind today?
Pain.
Simple as. This man, likewise, he's made the turn, or he will do after this. In fact, he's just about to take it right now. In fact, I think he may well have already done. That's the 3 to go. So it's a sort of a wavering road, I think you might say. These guys look spent, and this man is starting to believe, and so are we. 26 seconds. We said with 3 Ks to go, he's got a chance, and I'm beginning to believe it now, Brian, the way they're struggling behind him. Yeah,
I'm looking to believe it now. And we saw the sight of Luke Rowe starting to suffer, and that means that everybody else is suffering behind. It's a really, really strong performance. 26 seconds now. It doesn't look as if he's going to be weakening. If he does, it's going to be on this long straight road to the left-hand turn.
Check this out. 9 seconds now. Getting less than that. It's trimming down because the pack are chasing in. Now, what have they got left? It's been such a busy day. More, you'd suspect, than this group of now 5 riders. Luke Rowe having backed into the main pack. And here comes Stuyven. 25 seconds is the gap he's got. Significantly 32 on a whole flotilla of fast men. Well, they're getting in colour order at the moment. With race radios, they still know that there's a man up the road. So those days are gone of out of sight and maybe out of mind. And out of the factors that they're going to have to build into this. 2.3 to go in 24 seconds. He's got a great chance here, Brian. If he can make the turn with 600 metres to go, well, he might well just have it in the bag. And what a fantastic individual run. We said, when was the last time? It was usually due to bad weather or inclement weather, most certainly. He's got wind today, but he's put the wind up just about everybody.
Yeah, exactly. It's what has he got left? He's just given it absolute everything. Committed himself. Finished in the top 10 yesterday, which shows that he's coming into this weekend with great strength. Can he hang on now? 31 seconds. A lot of sports directors will be shouting in the ears of the riders to try and bring this man back. 30 seconds inside the last 2 kilometres.
1,800 metres, you can see the response that's kicking off behind. Is anyone else going to be tempted? They're having to get into colour order for teams. Just looking back down and through it. No disrespect to the chaser here, but further back you've got Trek getting into position. Top Sport Vlader and likewise. I Am Cycling also are there. Giant as well, trying to work themselves out. Not quite sure who's going to be the favoured man for them, but this is last roll of the dice for some of those who want to check it, and the gap's gone out. 30 seconds with 1,400 metres to go. Stuyven could bury this.
Yeah, it looks as if he could have this. Pim Leegtaard looking behind. You can see Van Avermaet coming up with Tom Boonen. 1 kilometre to go now, 30 seconds. He's got. You can just see the left-hand turn coming up, and it's going to be a tailwind to the finish. He's got this one in the bag.
Wow, what about this? What a fantastic performance. A man who won the Paris-Roubaix Juniors way back in 2010. Gosh, 6 years ago. He's only 23 years of age. 17th of April, send him a birthday card for goodness sake. I'll tell you what, he's going to feel like all his birthdays have come at once right now. And look at this, this is Boonen haranguing everybody and saying, see what you've done, you've blown it. Well, this man hasn't. He's absolutely going to take this one. 600 metres to go. It's about him. An individual win on a day that was supposed to be about sprinters. It's going to be minor places. That's for everybody else. It may well open the door for some lesser names, maybe not the top draw of sprinters to come through. And Nick, what will only be a runners-up spot, because there's one man that's going to be crowned here today, here at Kuurne. What a fabulous race. He left Kuurne, he headed for Brussels, he's coming back. This is going to be one of the favoured days of his entire life. Big scalps he's taken today, and boy, he's got enough time to think about how to celebrate, and celebrate he will. He's already talking, he's already giving interviews almost to the camera bike. This one is mine, he says. Oh, he took that so very well.
Yeah, fantastic finish. The 23-year-old took it by the scruff of the neck and held off the peloton to win.
Here we go then, they're spread out across the road. That's Bert Lebiger, there's Lee Howard as well, is also involved. It's Nasser Bouhanni who's coming through. They're wrestling for minor places, I think. In fact, it's Christophe ahead of Bouhanni at the line, but minor places. Didn't see who came home in 4th place. My goodness, individual efforts sometimes win out. Brian, we didn't believe that until we saw the Flamme Rouge, and I suspect maybe on a quiet day he might admit that for himself, but he showed so much guts and verve there today.
A young man, and you know, obviously a bright future ahead of him, and a tremendous win today. Nizzolo was one of their riders they were looking at. Bonifacio, I don't know why he's shaking his head there. Maybe because he didn't do a good sprint himself, but they've come away with a win, and what a superb win on the back of Cancellara in his final year. Looks as if Trek have got some very good talent coming up. What a tremendous win for this young man.
This is the lovely moment, isn't it? Hello, Mum. Checks behind, and indeed just rides it in. Absolutely beautiful. You've got to have a great deal of talent as well as ambition and self-belief to pull that kind of victory off, and he has. Brian, not a sprint fest, but you won't mind
zo
that.
Snel mogelijk een eerste reactie. Misschien straks nog een uitgebreider interview. Jasper Stuyven, heel erg gefeliciteerd. Wat denk je nu, na dit nummer?
Ja, ik weet het niet goed. Ik zei gisteren nog dat ik niet zo goed solo kan rijden. En dan vandaag begon ik er weer aan. Dus ja, het is prachtig. Het is super, ja.
Het lijkt een onmogelijke opdracht.
Ja, maar ja, en met de groep waar ik bij zat, had ik eigenlijk Boy, dat in de gevoel ontsnapping, dat hij enorm veel werk opknapte om de groep draaiend te houden. Maar ja, het viel wel stil en Dirk gaf aan van oké, de groep komt op 20 seconden. Als je kunt, moet je gaan, versnellen in het stuk met de zijwind. En ik ging en ja, ik kreeg weer niemand mee. Dus maar ik voel dat vandaag echt, dat ik misschien niet echt de punch had voor de sprint, maar dat ik wel echt veel power in de benen had. En ja, ik heb me gewoon zo aerodynamisch mogelijk proberen te houden. En Dirk was er altijd om mij vooruit te schreeuwen eigenlijk.
How tough was it riding against the wind on your own?
It was pretty hard. I felt the second lap or the first time we did the local lap, that was a hard part with the headwind. Yeah, it was really hard there coming alone, but I tried to manage and go as aero as possible.
Many congratulations. Tot daar het flash interview.
There we are. Well, I didn't want to make it double Dutch by trying to translate the Dutch, but terrific. Well, there we are. They don't grind grain here, by the way. That's a water pump. But today, his little legs were pumping, were they not? Not that little either. What a fabulous victory, and great to see an individual one coming off on a day that was supposed to be a bunch sprint. It wasn't.
No, the bunch sprint was taken by Christophe from Bouhanni. A lot of teams, you know, came to the front, trying to bring this man back and try to bring that front group back, and failed miserably. We saw Lotto Soudal and Katusha and even Orica Green Edge. So difficult for all these riders in a hard race today.
There you go. So Bouhanni it was that rounded out the podium. Groenewegen it was as well for Lotto Jumbo that got close in the end. But Peter Sagan up there as well. Yeah, Scott Thwaites, fantastic performance by him. Ted Tones expected to go well and did so, but finished in 8th place. How different it might have been, Brian, had there not been the victory already taken. But minor places, you might say, but take nothing away from our victory today.
Well, here's the sprint now. You can just see on the right-hand side, in the wind the whole time, Caleb Ewan. And from this time, he's just kind of just sitting up now. But just right next to Scott Thwaites. But Christophe comes up in the Ethics rider here and beats Bouhanni quite convincingly. Groenewegen comes up, but yeah, you can see Bonifacio was unhappy about something there. You can just see him having a chat. But
a lot of movement, but
the favourite was in fact Christophe, but he was outpaced by Stuyven.
There we go. What a day. Well, you look at the topography here, not many rises and falls, but one man has indeed risen to the top, as the cream always does. And wow, what a performance that was. Great individual effort, and he delivered. Eurosport will be as well. We've got the Track Cycling World Championships coming up for you, and plenty more cycling, of course, on your home of cycling. It's going to be a busy season, Brian, and we like it that way.
Yeah, of course we do. It's plenty of cycling for all, but this man, tremendous ride today, absolutely tremendous. 9th yesterday, and you can see some of the battle scars from a crash yesterday. So obviously in tip-top condition, and he doesn't look phased at all. What a tremendous win it was.
Over all-terrain, and he knew that it wasn't to be a sprint finish for him. It wouldn't have been victory if he'd allowed that to happen. Well, he rode it like he rode yesterday. Stuyven finishing 9th, as Brian said. Great top tenner there, and that would have been enough for a successful weekend, I think. He's only gone and won the Kuurne-Brussels-Kuurne. He's in the Parthenon.
Yeah, another good performance was Wisniewski for Ethics, trying to hang in there for a second place. Just got caught by a few of the sprinters towards the end. So a lot of teams will be looking at this weekend thinking, where did we go wrong and what can we do to improve? But Trek must be really happy. Disappointed Stuyven was yesterday, but he more than made up for it today.
Certainly did. So we're going to take our leave. We're holding on in the hope that we might have a podium for you, but well, we've spoken to our winner today, so it just leaves us to cast our mind forward to what is going to be an extremely busy season. Stuyven then taking the day, and a great future, Brian. Do you fancy signing him?
Oh, I'd love to sign him. He's on that performance today, who wouldn't?
Absolutely. Stuyven delivers, and we've got a lot more cycling to deliver to you and into your homes over this coming season. All the Grand Tours, of course, live whenever we can. And of course, we've got the Track Cycling World Championships coming up for you live here as well. You won't miss a thing if you keep it here. So from me, Carter Kirby, and from Brian Smith, we thank you for your company. Track cycling starts on Wednesday. Myself and Tony Gibb. For now, though, from the Flatlands, we salute Stuyven. And to you, we say farewell for now.